There we
All
go.
right. Welcome back to Modern Agent Blueprint. I'm Nicole, and my co-host Nikki is on here today. And we have our lovely co-hosts, Brooke and Marissa, who have become a staple on Modern Agent Blueprint. And today we're going to be talking about which CRM is going to work best for you. And they have been through it. They have looked into all the different CRMs. They have personally worked with multiple different CRMs. And in their consulting business, they also have had to learn and dabble into multiple different CRMs. So they kind of have like the know-how and the I don't even know, the expertise to guide us here on what's going to be the best CRM for you and your business. And I will just say Marissa and Brooke have really taken over my CRM and they're doing so much for me to hopefully get some more business in the pipeline because that's at the end of the day, that's what the CRM is for, right? So I'm
Mhm.
going to pass it over to Marissa and Brooke and let you guys take over from here. And I'm going to put myself on mute.
Perfect. And it's very much like mastermind collaborative, like we typically do things around here. So if someone has questions, they've got their own thoughts, feedback, Nikki, Nicole, at any time too, feel free to jump back in and your insights are always appreciated too. So yeah, just to kind of reiterate what Nicole said and add on one little thought is there's always that cliche line out there, right? That like the best CRM is the one that you'll actually use, right? Like as silly as it is, it's a cliche for a reason and people say it for a reason because there's so many different investments that you can make. There's different systems you can make. Is this your only thing that you're using? Is it trying to talk to other things, right? So that's where Nicole had mentioned, like on our consulting side of things, when we are working with someone in that capacity, we come in and ask a lot of those questions up front so we can help make the right adjustment and suggestion for them. There's also a lot of free options out there. So when you're getting started, you don't have to make investments necessarily into some big crazy system. A Google Sheet is a great answer, or whatever your team lead offers is a great answer, or your brokerage. Like those are all good answers, even if it's not necessarily the preferred system that you want or someone else recommended. If it's free and that fits your business, that's a good answer today. So we've got kind of the two different levels and ways to look at it. And then we've got a few other suggestions that we make if you are on the higher level and things you're trying to mix in. You want to layer a little bit, you want to have additional resources and things, right? But I would say non-negotiables, which I think this was what, like maybe a month ago now, we were talking about like if you had to start all over as a real estate agent, like what would you do? What are your non-negotiables? What would you do differently? Website, CRM. I would get those two things up front. We said it then. I'll say that again for sure because I don't think it can repeat it enough. But having a website, because you need somewhere to drive traffic, right? We need to be able to capture leads. We need to be able to share resources. We need a place that we can even just posting our phone number and let Google think that we're professionals and all the things like that covers a lot of bases really, really quickly. And very cheap or free also, depending on what your broker or team offers. So website and then CRM, which also can just be free. It can just be a Google Sheet. The basics you want to make sure you're capturing from day one are name, where this person came from, email, phone number, as much as possible, right? If you only have one, that's still a good answer, but email, phone number. And then if you can get their birthday, if you have their transactions, obviously once you actually close, make sure you're saving that information. Otherwise, their current mailing address, if they're not doing business with you yet, is a huge resource to have because we want to be able to send them different treats and drip on them if they're our sphere, send out birthday cards, things like that. But once they do close with you, save that address and save their home anniversary. Those would be the bare minimum basics that I would be saving. And then, because from there, we can add on all kinds of fun, crazy tags, right? We can say, if we are tagging or we're using a system, I can tag by year that they closed. And then as you're in the business for years and years and years, you will look back and be grateful that you had some of these foundational things
Yep.
set up from the beginning. But those are easy things, right? So I want to know who all I closed in 2020. I want to know who all I closed in 2021, et cetera, et cetera. Birthdays we can organize by month then, if those are in there correctly from the beginning. So those would just be like the foundational things that I would be looking for on a free to no cost basis. And then from there, if you do have either additional money that you can invest, or maybe your team or brokerage does offer something, some other basics I would be looking for in some sort of system is an IDX option. So through my website that can ideally talk to my CRM, right? Which if there isn't, and this is where I can get a little, Brooke will always say like we sound like we're speaking another language, right? Is you can get creative if we're going more budget friendly and our systems don't have the ability to talk to each other automatically. There's something called Zapier or Zapier, depending on how you say it, but that has free. You can get up to 1,000, which is plenty for most people, that will make systems talk to each other. So look into that if you're doing one of these more cost-effective systems that doesn't naturally talk to each other.
Marissa, you can even use Zapier with Google Sheets too, can't
Yeah,
you?
yeah, yeah. Yep,
So
absolutely.
like if you don't even have a CRM, like you could zap things into your sheet that you're
Yep.
using as your CRM.
Right, because your Google Sheet might be your CRM for the short term. So, and
I
that
didn't even
doesn't
know that was a
naturally talk.
thing. I
Yep.
had no idea that was a thing. That's
Yep.
crazy.
So it can make it talk. So like, let's say for an example, if someone on here is a EXP agent, right? We get KV Core. Maybe you don't love KV Core as like the actual system and it's overwhelming and we don't like the way it looks and things, but we want to use that IDX. We want to use that, home value tool, right? So we're getting the leads, we're doing the squeeze pages, whatever, right? The leads are coming through there because cool, that's a good lead capture. I get my free website, whatever, right? But I hate it as a CRM. I like my Google Sheet. I can track my transactions in there. Google Sheet's easy for me. I can use a Zap through Zapier to get my leads from KV Core into my Google Sheet and vice versa. So I can move stuff back and forth through a Zap. So if something doesn't naturally integrate, but I have these free resources, look into Zapier to see if you can solve your own temporary problem, right? Until you make sense to make a different investment. But yeah, Zapier will be your friend if things don't naturally integrate. So yeah, but that's the other one, right? So IDX is super important. We want to make sure we have an IDX option so that way we're not sending people to Zillow, we're not sending people to whatever. We want our own IDX that we can send home searches through and know when they're looking, get all the other options that come with that, right? Which there's a million IDX options out there. Home value. Home value would be the other resource. That would be like one of my suggested bare minimums free through EXP KV Core. You can invest in KV Core if you're not EXP. Your broker might offer something different through their own tool. 𝗏𝗏 and Agent Fire both have good websites with IDX feeds and home value tools. And then Fellow would be the other one that if you have maybe some of these resources, you're ready to make an investment, you're looking for that elevated home value tool, you really want to double down on your listings this year. They have a lot of listing marketing in there and automation. Fellow, FELLO, would be the one I'd recommend there. So those would be like some of the basics that I would recommend. And again, just tiered based on when you're able to make certain investments, you can add on these different things. And then any questions on that so far before I dive into some CRM systems, or does that all feel fairly good? Cool. Okay. So then as far as CRM options, right? So maybe in my Google Sheet, I've been collecting all of this for a couple years because that's what worked for me. Or maybe it's a little bit in my KV Core, a little bit in my Google Sheet. That's what we see more often than not, right? Is it's all three, four, five places. There's some in my dot loop, some in my phone, some in this place. So when we're ready to make that next investment into something that has a lot more automation, has what I like to call, and Follow Up Boss calls it this, so that's just where I got the name from, and I make it fit somewhere else too, because I was a Follow Up Boss user. My team used Follow Up Boss for a million years. So they call it smart lists. So smart lists would be the other foundational thing that I would be looking for in a CRM. And that's because as an agent, I don't want to have to dig. I'm not going to dig. I'm not going to go find who I'm
Yep.
supposed to talk to. If it's not easy and in front of my face, I know you're probably not going to do it, right? So Follow Up Boss makes it really, really easy. And it'll say, hey, Nicole, here's your 10 people that have birthdays this month. Give them a call. Hey, Nikki, here's your 5 closings, home anniversaries. Give them a call or send them a letter or send them a birthday or send them a handwritten note, right? So it makes it easy. And then it might say, hey, Jennifer, here's your 40 new leads that have come in because of this lead capture. They engaged in this, they did this, 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 they did these hand raisers, right? So I want my system to make it easy for me. I don't want to have to go dig. I don't want to have to go find any of this information. I don't want to have to remember to sort. I want to just show up on a list. I just go through my 4, 5, 6 lists for the day. And then if I clear my lists, I know I'm done and I've talked to all my people. And my system just says, yep, here you go. And then no one slips through the cracks. That's the important part, is when you set up these smart lists, if you do them correctly, there's at some point, every lead will end up coming up on one of these smart lists. And if you do it again correctly, they will come up again, either when they re-engage with something or at a minimum every 90 days. So we want to make sure we're touching your database every 90 days. So those would be the smart list feature that I would be looking for in a CRM. Follow Up Boss has one of the easiest user faces that I've seen as far as smart lists and just getting the data entered, right? Like, because that can be a pain in the butt too if you don't have someone to help you trying to figure out how do I even upload my list? How do I organize this? Follow Up Boss's user face is extremely user friendly. Unlike KV Core, if anyone's been a KV Core user, I feel like you have to like halfway be a coder to figure out how to do KV Core. And Follow Boss is like opposite experience. It cannot be any easier. It makes it stupid simple, which I am team stupid simple. And they do have some automations built out for you. Or again, it's very easy to build more of your own too, your own templates, all that good stuff. Nicole, did you want to add something or were you just agreeing? Okay, cool. Just making sure.
Yeah, just agreeing. Sorry.
No.
Yeah, I think like, I mean, go ahead. I got nothing. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Okay, so then the other ones that we have come across, which like Nicole mentioned, between our personal experience, our client experience, all these good things, we have come across and interacted with many, many CRMs or some version of a CRM over the years now. A lot of websites too offer CRM like kind of within their systems now. So if you do something like a 𝗏𝗏𝗏 or an Agent Fire, or even if you're familiar with Isaiah with Run 360 that Nicole's really well affiliated with, we've used his platform. His is great too. It's on the back end, feels pretty similar to Follow Up Boss, to be honest. His thing, and I've told him this to his face too, I love you if you ever happen to come back and watch this and listen to this, is it's almost too many good things. So he has like AI features and integrations, and then he has this other feature and thing, and there's like so many good additional features that they've added to their Ren system that it's almost overwhelming again, right? Like if it's not stupid simple and it doesn't just tell me call these 10 people, I get overwhelmed, I don't log in, I don't do anything. It's that like state of overwhelm. So that's the one thing that I've again told him to his face and shared feedback on is I'm like, you have too much good. Like show me just my one login. Give me just my smart list as an agent, right? Like make it stupid simple for me. But he does have a lot of AI benefits and AI follow-up for you. And you can do postcards through his system. So it's a little bit more of an all-in-one. Your website's there, your postcards can be there, your follow-up can be there. There's like a built-in ISA for you. So that's more of an all-in-one system. Agent Fire is more of an all-in-one system. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 is more of an all-in-one system. But all of these also, if you wanted to use parts of what they offer, right? If I wanted just his AI, or if I wanted just Agent Fire's website, or if I wanted just whatever, then all of those can still talk to Follow Up Boss as my very basic, simple, easy to use CRM. So that's where I'll always come back to recommending the first investment, that if you're going to make some sort of system investment, I would start with Follow Up Boss as your CRM, because then you can always piece in these additional things down the road, make certain investments as it makes sense. But starting with those core basics, right? Get a website, wherever that comes from, make sure it's got an IDX, ideally has a home value, have those basic collected informations, birthdays, anniversaries, phone number, email, try and get that sorted of all of your people that you possibly can, and then use something like Follow Up Boss as soon as possible to make it easy for you. So there's all-in-ones. Those are my top 3 all-in-ones. I would still probably come back to Follow Up Boss. especially over KV Core, even if you have that as a free option. That's a good option to start. Do follow up boss as soon as you can. The other ones, let me make sure I'm not missing anything from, nope, okay. The other things that you can and what we would recommend adding on, and I'll let Brooke talk a little bit about this in a second, is I would split your email marketing. When you're ready to make that investment, that would be another one that I would split out of your CRM. And ideally, again, as soon as you are able, I would get they usually call it like a vanity domain, right? Which you probably already have if you have a website. Like I have my own name. I've got, well, I don't have Marissa Morello yet, actually. Believe it or not, I just have Marissa Beaker. I have my maiden name. So I own my maiden name. And then I own my Relatable Realtors domains and do those. So get that through whatever site, GoDaddy, Pork Bun, whatever, right? Own those. They're super, super cheap. So make sure you're buying and owning your name, your business, your brand, your whatever. Just get some domains for your website that you can drive the traffic to. And then through Google, do not buy your at whatever for your Gmail through GoDaddy, Wix, whatever, 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 because they limit you and it's a pain in the butt to get it out. If you haven't already done that, don't do it that way because I'm telling you, it is not fun to disconnect those things. Get the vanity domain for your email directly through Google. That would be the next layer that I would recommend is getting that vanity domain. You can just do like Nicole's got hers where it's the front part at gmail.com, right? Like her Nicole Elizabeth Real Estate or Nicole Elizabeth Sells at gmail.com. That's still a great answer because that's free and we love free. And that still looks professional. It still looks great. It gives us 90% of the resources she will ever need. The one thing that you can kind of add, there's a few other like back end benefits to having it. Again, it's kind of just a vanity thing. I like being able to add aliases is my favorite part because I don't necessarily want everything going to Marissa at ruconsulting.com or Marissa at relatablerealtors.com. When you have the professional account and it's the at relatable realtors, then I can have support at blah, 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 info at blah, 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 social media at blah, 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 right? So I can add these aliases and then I can now organize where my information is going, where different logins are sent to. Maybe I end up having a VA down the road and I want them to be able to have a login that isn't my login so they don't see my calendar and all that good stuff, right? Excuse me. So that is a few advantages of that. And I saw Dawn just said something. Great for junk mail too. Yeah. So you can separate, right? Like I usually send all my accounts that I sign up for, or all the different newsletters we want to test. I'm not sending that to Marissa. I don't want that bogging down my email, but it needs to exist. It should go somewhere. So then I can send that to a support. Most of our accounts are tied to support. And then whether it's Brooke or I logging into something, we have the same login, we've got the same email. It makes things easy. So it's just nice whether you end up with an assistant down the road, a VA down the road, whatever the case may be, or maybe it's just you and you're trying to organize yourself. They're very inexpensive. I think it's typically maybe $10 a month. I think we pay a little more because we have so many different aliases and accounts and like actual users. But very minimal. That would be like the next layer I would probably do. And then when you have that, or even before you have that, that's not required by any means. Then I would separate out my email marketing from my CRM or from just Google because then true, you can track your analytics better and different if it's separate. And then God forbid you ever get marked spam on one of these things, then it's not going to hurt your transactions, which would be through your actual CRM, through your actual Gmail, right? You don't want your main Marissa at therelatablerealtors.com getting marked spam. And now my clients, my title, my lenders aren't getting my emails. I would rather support get marked spam. And then I have to just come up with a new email, right? For that all to go to. So that is another main reason to have that as an option. But then two, analytics. I like to be able to see, which typically like Google's going to give you very little. There are add-ons that you can add. I have one called, let me see, it's Streak. I have an add-on for my Gmail called Streak that will tell me, has it been opened, how many times, what do they look at, blah, 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 right? So it gives me some basic analytics. That's cool, that's fine. But if I'm sending things out in bulk, if I'm sending out a newsletter, if I'm sending out an open house campaign, if I'm sending out whatever, one, I can make it cuter in a separate system than just in Gmail or something like Follow Up Boss. But two, I can see what links are all they clicking on and how many times do they come back and do something? What is my overall open rate for the 1,000 people that went out to of my entire database, or the 200 that it went out to for that neighborhood? What's my overall click rates? Where did I lose people? What weren't they clicking on? So I know not to include that in the future. Maybe I need to improve a call to action, right? So that would be the next layer is once I have my website, I have all of my leads collected somewhere with basic information. I upgrade to ideally Follow Up Boss would be our recommendation, but there's lots of other options out there. The couple all-in-one systems, KV Core, something for your brokerage offers, all of those are great answers. Have something. Then I would probably make sure that I have some of that vanity account set up to try and just improve the professionalism, give me more options for tracking, all that good stuff. Then I would do email marketing and add that secondary system. We love Flowdesk, which if you've ever been on one of our Zooms before, you've probably heard us talk about Flowdesk. Super cheap and inexpensive, not nothing, right? These are all small to medium investments. We don't do anything in like the hundreds of dollars a month. We will never recommend something like that for 99% of individual agents. Typically doesn't make sense at that level. You would just need to put in like a whole lot of effort to make sure that that one tool converts for you, and it's typically not going to happen or be the case. Fellow is probably the only exception of that, and that you can get annually, and also that would be like the highest tier that we would ever recommend. You can totally use 7 other options before Fellow if you decided to go that route. But Flowdesk is very cheap. It's $19 a month with a discount code, which we can either get you that. I'm sure someone else can get you that, but reach out to any of us and we can get you a discount code for Flowdesk. But that would be the next layer. And Brooke, I'd love for you to touch a little bit on Flowdesk just with like the lead captures, the link in bios, and then again, we use Zapier to then connect that back to Follow Up Boss, back to whatever system. Your Google Sheet doesn't matter. We can collect the emails, phone numbers for people you don't have, all of that good stuff right through Flowdesk. And truly, if you needed to, you could almost reverse it and just have your Google Sheet and then your Flowdesk if you weren't ready to make that CRM investment and you really, really wanted to go all in on the email marketing to make sure that you had something going out every week. You were all about the email newsletters or different campaigns. You could skip that CRM step and just go right to a Flowdesk, get some marketing going out, get some additional lead captures going out, all of that good stuff, and then come back and make that CRM investment. Only reason I say the CRM first typically is because there could be other leads that are slipping through the cracks, or maybe we're missing the notifications. Maybe we forget birthdays and anniversaries and all that, right? And transactional based things. So that's why I typically say CRM first and then add on that email marketing. But you could just use Flowdesk before that, get some good stuff going out, get some drips going on. Brooke, you want to touch a little bit on all the different pieces of Flowdesk and email marketing?
Yeah, so if I were to do things, basically I would, yes, Follow Up Boss. If you have KV Core, I would utilize it. There's a lot of good things in there. Like I know a lot of people talk negatively about it, but especially for like squeeze pages or your listings or trying to attract buyers. I mean, in order to capture information from your website, I think KV Core is unmatched personally. It's just if you don't know how to use it, you don't do it at all, right? So I think it's very easy to use and create squeeze pages and different tags and different things. So I use it a lot. But Flowdesk for sure, like my link in bio on my Instagram is through Flowdesk. So you can download guides from there. You can join my newsletter and it sections you off based on what you clicked, right? So I think a lot of people pay for, like I like StanStore. I think StanStore offers a lot of really great things, but StanStore is $100 a month and that's a lot of money. So for $19 a month with Flowdesk, I can do my own link in bio that I created for my Instagram. that then I create forms for each of those links that you click in my link in bio. So they segment to different categories in my Flowdesk. I can create workflows that create intro sequences. So when you download my buyer's guide from my link in bio on Instagram, I can instantly send you, here's the downloadable guide, right? And then 2 days later, I can send you the link to my website that's going to notify me that you're looking at it, right, into my CRM because of the IDX feature. I can then send you more information about buying a house. I can send you pre-approval information, where to get pre-approved. So I can create this whole welcome sequence for you. And it just automatically goes out when you try to download my guide from my Instagram bio. And I did all that for $19 a month. So a lot of the times, again, like me and Marissa say, we talk in a different language sometimes. And it's like, whoa, 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 what are you talking about? What did you just do? But it's really, if you're going to start with Flowdesk, I would do, if there's something you're going to get today, get Flowdesk. I would say that's 100% worth it. Because again, you can zap things from Flowdesk into a sheet, right? But if you create your link in bio through Flowdesk and do one thing at a time, right? So create your link in bio and then drive all your traffic to your link in bio. Visit my website, can be right on there, right? Download my buyer guide, it's right on there. Download my seller guide, download my reload guide. Do all of these things in your link in bio, and then you can share that with anybody. Join my newsletter, right? So even someone you meet, you could be like, oh my gosh, you should join my newsletter. You live in my area. Like, I always send fun things. So now they're in your CRM, but they're just some random person in your sphere. They don't even have to be looking to buy or sell. So that could just be part of when you get to know somebody, right? And then once you create your link in bio, you're at least gathering information. But then maybe the next step is, okay, now I need to create the workflow for each thing. So they joined my newsletter, so now I should send them an introductory email, right? So that, sorry, I just got a phone call that I don't know if that took me off. So when you send, when they join your newsletter, maybe it's a, hi, I'm Brooke, and this is what I love, and this is about me, and here's just some information about me so you get to know me better. And then you're going to hear from me once a month, or you're going to hear from me once a week, whatever it is, right? And then same thing with your buyer's guides, your seller's guides. Give them all of the information as if you're basically like, we talked about this at Level Up during the panel. What's all the pre-work you do, right? When you get a buyer or you get a seller, a lot of the times we send them things ahead of time. What if we just did that? They downloaded the seller guide. Okay, well, let's send them all of the pre-work that we would send them before the listing appointment in this workflow and do all of that through Flowdesk. And then, what was it? Did you ask me to talk about something else?
Just
Forms.
workflows, emails, the connection. I guess if you were to use it as a CRM, so there's something called segments in Flowdesk where you can segment out these people. So people that downloaded the buyer guide, people
Right.
that engaged or clicked on this, and all of this can be automated too, which again, that can get our little techie language thing, right? Where it's like the back end of it. And in the workflows, I say if they click this, then add them to this segment. Which we could totally, if anyone ever reaches out and is interested, Nicole or Nikki, like we could have a very nerdy session on like just Flowdesk. If anyone decides they're interested in getting that nitty gritty, we could do a session like specifically for the automations and things. But that's stuff that you could do too. So if you were to do it again, that opposite route where I started with my KV Core or my Google Sheet, I'm really excited about all of this client experience, Flowdesk side of things. Skip FUB. That's okay. Don't not do something because you're like, oh, the order was supposed to be this or this. There's no right or wrong answer. If you are excited to get some of these workflows going and that experience piece is more important to you, then start with Flowdesk. Like Brooke said, you can get some of these workflows going from day one.
Right.
You can get lead captures going then from day one, all in that one system. You can integrate those as pages on your website. Nicole's website, we went through, changed all of our lead captures to Flowdesk lead captures because then we can turn on XYZ automation based on the link they click on there, right? So we're leveraging and maximizing all these
I
tools.
think too, if you were to skip a CRM, if you created, so a lot of times in a CRM, we create like action plans, right? You can basically create an action plan in Flowdesk. So if you had a form that they fill out, like you have a new buyer, right? Or at closing, this would be cool. Just thought of this. So if you're at closing, you could even fill it out for them, right? Put them in like the form. When you fill it out, it automatically tags them closed client. You could build out a workflow for 3 years.
Yeah.
That's just email touches, right? So once a month, once every 3 months, whatever it is, or every year, just set it up like this is the day they closed, put them in that. It automatically tags them to an anniversary workflow. And you just, every 365 days, it's going to send them a happy home anniversary. It's the same email. So if you didn't have a CRM, you could still do these kinds of things.
Yeah.
For their birthday. Just fill out the form and it puts them on their birthday, and it sends it to them from the day you sent it. So if it's on their birthday, you'd add them 365 days later, right? It's not the easiest compared to a CRM, but it's an option, right? You could build out these action plans basically in Flowdesk.
Yeah, that's so true. That's such a good example because, again, like maybe I'm not ready to make that investment, which Follow Up Boss, to be fair, is about $60 a month, plus or minus, depending on like the feature or things.
It's totally worth the extra $40 a month over Flowdesk. Like if you're going to utilize it, it's definitely worth the money, but you have to use it.
Yeah. I would say for the 2 features, the smart lists and then a phone number, not having your personal cell phone number out there as early in your business as you can is another good thing. And with FUB, you can get as many phone numbers as you want to for free. So I can have one for social media. I can have one for my website. I can have one for postcards. I can have one for my newsletter. I can have one for my yard sign. I can have one for blah, 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 right? So then I'm tracking exactly if they're calling on my yard sign, cool. I know to answer and say this then, because it'll come up that way. If they're calling on this, I know to say and do this. So it's sorted by inboxes, which is nice. So that would be the other reason that like would probably still be worth making that investment, and something I would look for in a CRM if you are looking outside of Follow Up Boss. There's one thing I will say with this. We had the first time we've just had this with a client, and their biggest reason they were anti-Follow Up Boss. So for anybody else in the world that might care about this, the only thing I've ever heard someone super anti, and they would not use it because of this, is it's owned technically by the Zillow umbrella of things, right? Which, to be totally fair, they own all our data probably anyways. So like that was my whole thing, was like, okay, so you're going to make it harder for your team. You're going to have a more expensive system that doesn't do this, 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 or this because it's owned by Zillow that basically owns all of our crap at this point anyways. Like,
right.
I hear you. I hear you and I respect your opinion, of course, and you're entitled to it. But like, why are we making things harder on ourselves and spending more money? So they ended up using, just as an alternative, again, for you, just more options out there. Go High Level is a very high level CRM. I would not recommend trying to figure that one out on your own. Find a company or a consulting team that specializes in high level and will build out your CRM for you. If you are a high level team, you're trying to do other sales, you're trying to do attraction on a really high level, you're looking for funnels and again, some of the nerdy behind the scenes stuff that you can really customize and connect to all your existing websites and crazy stuff that you have going on, that might be a good option for you. But it's a pretty intense system. And there's some really big missing features in it with like, there's no group texting. There's very minimal ponds and sharing of leads if you do have a team or things. So, and it's more expensive. So there's a few reasons that I'm like, oh, okay, that's a choice. But again, like there are choices. There are other options out there. You don't have to default just because the majority of people end up using Follow Up Boss. It's cost effective. It's easy. All of the positives, right? There are other options out there. And like Brooke said, KV Core, like some people, I feel like you either love it or you hate it. So, and that's still a great option. I want to see what Dawn just asked in here too. What about text messaging? Can you do it or connect it to any of these? So texting in Follow Up Boss, you have a phone number you can text, you can group chat, you can do all of that right through Follow Up Boss. If you already have like a Google number, you can route that into 𝗶𝗶 so then it's in your follow-up boss for you. So you can message, do it all right through the app. You're calling, texting. There's a dialer in there that you can jump on. It's not a multi-line, it's a single line, but there's a dialer, which is handy. So you don't need an additional platform for texting or calling if you use Follow-Up Boss. If you did Flowdesk, you can, capture the leads good through, you can get as many custom fields as you want through Flowdesk. They do not export well, we have
Yeah.
learned out of Flowdesk. So that's the one negative. It collects all the information. If you use it as a CRM, you could put all the anniversaries, birthdays, blah, 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 forever in there and store all of that information. It just does not go places well. It does not zap out. The only thing that you can use a Zapier for out of Flowdesk is name and email. So you can export it. It will export into one sheet, but you cannot like conveniently and automatically zap it out of there. So for text messaging, I've used a few systems over the years now. If you needed an outside texting platform, to be honest, I don't have one that I love or really back up. They're very, very, very expensive. If you want any sort of automation or workflows with your texting, texting's just expensive. If you're going to be texting group chat heavy, just invest in 𝗶𝗶 then.
Yeah.
There's still not there's not none. There's very, very little automation that you can do with texting just to make sure you stay compliant, which is the biggest problem with texting across the board and why it is so expensive, is there's so many extra layers of compliance out there with texting versus calling. And it's only going to get worse as the TCPA, whatever, has all the do not call list layers that are coming. Luckily, it got pushed to currently, last I saw, it's like February next year or something. So it got pushed from early this year, but still, a lot of the systems are cracking down on what we're allowed to text, who we're allowed to text. Follow-Up Boss just added a fun layer that if you are, I don't remember what it was, Brooke. There was something that like one of our traction account got flagged because of something
Yeah.
that we were doing. And if they hadn't texted in, we had to fix something. And if we hadn't texted them before, anyways, that should not be a normal problem for you. Those are extra layers of compliance and things.
Right.
So Dawn, I don't have a great answer for you as far as an additional system for texting. I would just invest in 𝗶𝗶 if you're looking for a phone
Yeah.
number that you can text for your business.
Yeah, 𝗶𝗶's definitely the best option for that. Because even with 𝗘𝗍, if you have it for free with your brokerage, I mean, it's still what, $27 a month to add the phone number?
Something like that, right? Nicole, I know you have a phone number through 𝗘𝗍.
Yeah, I think I paid $27 a month for the phone number. It's kind of a lot.
Yeah, because
It's a
otherwise,
lot.
if you're EXP, then your whatever phone number that they have out there connected to your account, it's like a shared round robin phone number. If you
Which
don't
makes no
pay,
sense.
no, if you don't pay for that private one. So that's another reason that, like, again, not hating on 𝗘𝗍. It truly is a great free system if it's offered through your brokerage. I would not probably pay $85. I would be going to Follow-Up Boss for 60 from day one if it wasn't included with my brokerage. But because it is, I love the resources through it, but I am certainly not using it as my main one for that reason alone. I'm paying almost $30 for a phone number to have it private, to not be able to have multiple phone numbers, to not be able to do all the automations and smart list and things. I'm just going to go right to 𝗶𝗶 for 60,
Yep.
have my number, own all my things, be able to control it all, and have all the automations. What other questions do we have? Dawn said that's why I don't use it. I hear you, Dawn. Use it for the squeeze pages
Yeah,
and
that's all I
home
use it for.
value, because those are great. But that would be it.
No questions. Blow their socks off. Nothing. Is it like, are one of these systems like interesting, like where if we went deeper into creating something, like we could come back and do something like that? Like, was there anything like, oh, I would really love to learn how to do that. I just don't know how.
So I think Flowdesk would be a good one because I mean, you guys mentioned that there's a lot that Flowdesk can do that I didn't even know.
Yeah.
So that would be a good one, I think.
Okay.
I'm building stuff out for myself right now too, so we could even just do it kind of like a work with me almost. Like I can
Yeah.
show you everything I'm doing and be like, okay, click this, now do this, you know.
Yep.
We could like do it together.
I think that's how I personally learn is doing it. So
Yeah.
something like that would be awesome.
Yes, I agree. I'd be very interested in that as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the action plans for Flowdesk would be something because I started to try and do those, but then I never really figured it
Yeah.
out or did it. But I mean, I love Flowdesk, but I
Yeah.
don't really use the like action plans or anything.
Okay, well then I'll plan that then. So next time we'll do Flowdesk and I'll show you how to do it. We'll do one thing at a time though, because they take time. So
Mhm.
we'll start with one and then maybe we'll make it like a series, like a Flowdesk series.
Cool. And I know Angie just said in the chat that she'd love some follow-up boss.
That's a Marissa one. We'll make a Marissa series and a Brooke series. I
There
don't
we
do
go.
follow-up boss well.
Mm,
So
yeah, I got you, Angie. I'll do a FUB basics of the back end. We'll just have to
yeah,
maybe Brooke, maybe this is what we can do. We can make it like a nerdy series where it's like if you are interested in building this out yourself, like come ready though, like come with your login because we're doing
you gotta
stuff.
right.
Like
Mm-hmm.
this is not a fun mastermindy just chatting about the high level things. This is the like we're getting in the weeds. We're gonna share a
Yeah.
screen and like set some stuff up.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just thinking baby got back ends.
Mhm.
Baby got back ends,
That's
a
awesome.
follow-up
Yeah.
boss and Flowdesk.
Yeah. And we can
Yep.
do pretty much, I mean, if another system comes up too, like we truly could probably have like a once a month baby got back end session with us and just go through whatever systems people want or need.
Yeah.
I can pretty much guarantee you at this point, we've probably built it.
Yeah. Fair. Cool.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. This was so good. They are my my nerdy right hands, right and left hand, I suppose. I am so glad that you guys have decided whether you wanted to or not to be part of Modern Agent Blueprint. You are our unofficial co-hosts over here.
Mhm.
But thank
we
you
love it.
so much. We love having you guys on. You have so much knowledge with everything that we do in this industry. You guys are a wealth of knowledge. So I really appreciate that. So we'll be coming back next. Brooke, do you have any clue what our next one is? I don't know offhand.
No, but let's just do Flowdesk. Let's just start it.
Mhm.
I could. I did put the Flowdesk code in the chat. I'll add it again just in case. But that is, you can start right there. Flowdesk is one of those things where we have a really good open rate. What is it, like a 60% open rate or more for Flowdesk? And I think there's so much you can do with it that we used it for all of our level up marketing. We used it for even like with our sponsors and everything. Everything went right through there because you can add your links, you can add all the stuff. So it was really good. So if you are interested in doing something like that, I don't feel like it's horribly expensive, like the big sticker shock of like $400 a year or something like that. But if you look at the like cost per month, if it's at $400, you're looking at like $33 a month. So it's not really that bad if you are using it monthly.
And Nicole, your first year is $19 a month if you use the code.
Yeah,
so at least if you're using it for a year and you're still using it, you're not going to feel bad about spending $35 a month. But the first year, $19 a month it doesn't feel so stressful.
You can't even like go to McDonald's for that. So,
correct.
Exactly. That's like 2 coffees at Starbucks. So it's very, I feel like it's inexpensive. And if you're really utilizing it, I mean, you could use it for literally everything in your business, from client touches to events to whatever you want. It's a great system. So, all right, well, join us next week then. We're coming back with Brooke and Marissa, and we're going to be talking about baby got back ends with Flowdesk.
Love it.
Love it.
Funny.
All right, guys, have a great day.
Next week then.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.